Justice sometimes emerges in the most unpredictable ways, often when hope seems to be fading and the trail has gone cold. In the world of criminal investigations, it's not always the experts or the technology that make the difference. Sometimes, it's a single moment of intuition, a gut feeling that refuses to be ignored. From the most unexpected places, a spark of insight can ignite a breakthrough. In this case, it wasn't a seasoned detective or a forensic breakthrough that turned the tide, but an ordinary father living on a quiet street who sensed something was deeply wrong. This father, guided by nothing more than intuition and a persistent sense of unease, noticed subtle changes in his neighborhood, details others might have missed. He trusted his instincts, even when others dismissed his concerns. The nation was on edge. The killer of Charlie Kirk remained at large, and fear gripped the community. News outlets ran constant updates, and every new headline brought a fresh wave of anxiety. Despite extensive efforts by law enforcement, searches, interviews, and endless hours spent poring over evidence, Tyler Robinson seemed to have vanished without a trace. The case was growing colder by the day. Then, in a moment of clarity, the father picked up the phone. His call, driven by a hunch and a sense of responsibility, would soon change everything. He described what he'd seen, what he'd felt, and urged the police to look closer. His instinct pointed investigators to a small, previously overlooked detail, a clue buried in the noise. That single observation cracked the case wide open, shifting the investigation in a new direction. This story highlights the power of public vigilance and the crucial role everyday people can play in seeking justice. When communities come together, they become a force that even the most cunning criminal cannot escape. While authorities chased leads and followed protocols, it was one man's intuition, his willingness to act on a feeling, that proved to be the key. His courage to speak up made all the difference. His insight led directly to the suspect, bringing a sense of closure to a grieving nation and relief to families who had waited so long for answers. The arrest was a turning point, a moment of hope restored. This father's story is a testament to the power of community and the impact one person can have when they refuse to stay silent. It reminds us that justice is not just the work of professionals, but of all of us. When people are vigilant and brave, no shadow can hide a killer for long. The collective strength of a watchful community can illuminate even the darkest corners. In the end, it was a simple act of listening to his inner voice that became the turning point, a reminder that sometimes the smallest actions can have the greatest impact. September 10, 2025 was meant to be triumphant for Charlie Kirk. At Utah Valley University, he addressed a crowd of 3,000. The energy was electric, Kirk in his element. Suddenly a sniper's bullet turned the rally into tragedy. Kirk, a symbol of a movement, was gone. The assassin left a chilling message, a political statement in blood. The nation mourned, grappling with the reality of political violence. The pressing question, who did this, and where were they? A massive manhunt for Tyler Robinson ensued, mobilizing law enforcement agencies from across the region. Helicopters circled overhead, K-9 units scoured dense forests, and officers coordinated their efforts in a race against time. The city was on edge, every shadow a potential hiding place, every alleyway a possible escape route. The urgency was palpable, as authorities knew that every passing hour made their task more difficult. Despite having a clear identification, Robinson seemed to vanish into thin air. He moved like a ghost, slipping through the cracks of the city, leaving behind only faint traces and unanswered questions. Officers combed through abandoned buildings and searched the darkest corners, but he was always one step ahead. The FBI joined forces with local police, launching an all-out search that spanned city blocks and rural outskirts. Command centers buzzed with activity as agents pored over maps and coordinated search teams, determined to bring Robinson to justice. Video footage of his daring rooftop escape was broadcast nationwide, captivating the public and fueling speculation about his next move. News anchors replayed the dramatic scenes, and the story dominated headlines. Citizens everywhere became potential witnesses, sharing images and updates across social media platforms. The manhunt went viral, with people from all walks of life hoping to spot the fugitive and help authorities. The search was relentless, stretching into the late hours of the night. Officers grew weary, but their determination never wavered. Still, the trail went cold, and frustration began to mount. Days turned into nights, and nights into days. Frustration grew among detectives, who pored over evidence and leads that led nowhere. Robinson remained elusive, a shadow slipping through their grasp. The public's desire for justice was palpable, with crowds gathering outside courthouses and citizens voicing their hopes and fears. The community was united in their demand for answers and closure. Despite the latest technology and a massive deployment of manpower, the suspect was still at large. Digital maps, surveillance, and high-tech tools all failed to pinpoint his location. The hunt pressed on, with law enforcement desperate for a breakthrough. Every new tip was investigated, every clue followed, but the answers remained just out of reach. The authorities needed a new lead, a lucky break that could finally turn the tide. Detectives waited anxiously for the phone to ring, hoping for the one call that would change everything. Across the nation, people watched and waited, hoping for a resolution to the tense and dramatic manhunt that had gripped the country. Sometimes the most important breakthroughs come not from experts or technology, but from ordinary people trusting their instincts. In this case, it was a father's intuition that would change the course of the investigation forever. In the stillness of a quiet neighborhood, as the world outside seemed unchanged, he noticed something that didn't quite fit, a detail so small most would have missed it. A subtle inconsistency nagged at him, a feeling he couldn't shake. It was a fleeting moment, but it planted a seed of suspicion that grew stronger with every passing hour. As he watched the news and studied the wanted poster, he began to connect the dots. The manhunt for Robinson was everywhere, but something about what he'd seen made him wonder if the answer was closer than anyone realized. Despite his doubts and the fear of being wrong, he picked up the phone and called the FBI tip line, his voice steady but his heart racing. What began as a minor observation quickly became a crucial piece of the puzzle. Investigators who had been searching in the dark now had a new lead to follow. His tip provided a specific detail that authorities had completely overlooked, a thread that could unravel the entire case. With this new information, the search area shrank dramatically, allowing investigators to focus their efforts on a single, promising location. The father's intuition had accomplished what weeks of technology and manpower had not. His courage and attention to detail made all the difference. That single phone call turned the tide of the investigation, bringing hope to a case that had seemed hopeless. For the first time, the ghost they had been chasing finally had a physical anchor, a place, a clue, a real chance to catch him. Thanks to one man's courage and quick thinking, the stage was set for the final confrontation, and the community could finally hope for closure. Tyler Robinson's arrest was due to one man's courage. It highlights the role of citizens in justice. In an age of technology, community vigilance is key. This father's intuition is a reminder of human instinct. His story calls us to trust our inner voice. The capture of Kirk's killer is a victory for community action. It underscores the partnership between law enforcement and the public. When good people speak out, justice prevails.